Why aren't you fitting? Oh, hi. What's up, SE Nation? Ramsey here. Throughout my career, I've worked with many SEs and I've also coached many SEs. Some of them who did great and some of them who struggled. And a lot of those who struggled mainly because it was a bad fit. And that got me thinking, and I know that's strange, but it did. It got me thinking, how do bad fits happen to begin with? What causes them? And what can we do to actually solve them? And I've had both the personal experience where I didn't fit 100%, and I've also coached many others. So I wanted to share that experience with you in hopes that it would actually help you identify if you're frustrated because it's a bad fit or any other reason. Note that I am focusing on the sales engineering role, or pre-sales as otherwise known, but it could be helpful for anybody in any other role. So how does it happen? Well, one of the ways it happens is through org changes. Sometimes people get shifted from one organization to another just because. Like, people are in post-sales and now something happens and congratulations, you're a pre-sales engineer. Whether you wanted the role or not, or whether you'd be good at it or not. It just happens. And it's happened to me, not in the sense that I moved from post-sales to pre-sales, but it's happened to me where I went on paternity leave, my boss got promoted to a different role, and by the time I came back, they shifted me to a different manager, they changed my role from a hybrid sales engineer to a sales specialist, whatever that means, or at least whatever it means. I will talk about that later. And then it took the three of us, myself, my new manager, and my old manager, to come to grips and figure out how we can actually make it a good fit. And it took time. And I actually told my manager at one point, my new manager, is that I'm waking up every day not knowing where I'm going to be smacked in the face. And it wasn't a good feeling. So I've been there. And I'm sure a lot of us have been there as well. Another reason why this could happen is the employee didn't interview the hiring manager or the hiring team before he or she accepted the job. On show 176 of We the Sales Engineers podcast, which you should check out, I had Akshat Srivastava on the show. He's an SE leader at Amazon, or AWS specifically. And we talked about what sales engineers or what individuals should ask the hiring manager, the VP of sales, teammates. And a lot of times I notice, especially for people coming into a job new, they don't ask questions, or they don't ask the right questions, or they're expecting that other people will tell them everything. It is our job as individuals to make sure that we interview the hiring company as much as they interview us. We're going to be spending 90% of our life or our time in that company. So we want to make sure that it will be a good fit, because even if it's a semi-good fit, it could add stress and make our home life a little bit difficult. And here's the thing, you're going to have the chance to ask so many different people so many different questions before you even get the job. I've talked about the interview process. I'll put a link to the podcast talking about the interview process specifically, or if you're interested, check out the Road to Sales Engineering course, which is specifically about getting to become a sales engineer, whether you're an existing a sales engineer or you're trying to become a new sales engineer. But you will meet the SE manager. You will meet colleagues, fellow SEs that you might be working with. You will meet other SE managers potentially. Sales people, sales directors, VP of sales engineering, and all these people can provide you different insights, and treat it as a discovery call. It is your chance to discover as much as you can about that company and if you would enjoy working for them. The third reason I see bad fits is sometimes people get dazzled by money. They're given an offer they cannot refuse and they take the job. And once they start it, they realize it's a bad fit. Now, money is important. I think money is important because that's how you survive in this world that we live in today. It's harder to go hunting these days for some reason than it was in the past. And now you need money to go buy stuff. But money is not the only thing to look at when you're looking for a job. Fit is important. All the money in the world, if you hate your job, it's not going to be very helpful. And you're probably going to end up either in a golden handcuff situation or you're going to get a pay cut, and now your lifestyle is going to shift back, which is usually hard. And the fourth reason I see this happening, and there might be many more, actually, if you think of any, leave it in the comments. I'm happy to hear about it. But sometimes people are desperate for jobs. They're already in a bad fit and they're hoping to find another job, and they'll just take whatever. Or in my case, in my situation, I was desperate for a job because I'd been out of a job for 4 months after graduating university, and I couldn't find a job. Luckily, the people that I ended up working with, Alcatel-Lucent, great company, I ended up having a great manager, great teammates, so it worked out. But I was desperate. And if it was I know a lot of my fellow colleagues who worked for the same company, just a different manager, and they had a totally different experience. Now let's talk about what causes a bad fit. When you're in the sales engineering world, one of the major pains is account managers. Some are great and make your life easy. Most of them are okay. They don't make your life better or worse. They're just colleagues that you end up working with. But some are just horrible. I've coached SEs who had bullies for salespeople and how they should deal with certain situations and work with those account managers and survive their experience, whether it is by asking their SE manager to find them another account manager, or talking to their SE manager about their current situation, or in the end leaving the company in some cases. And it doesn't even have to be bullying, it could be just different values. For example, my salesperson received a purchase order for warranty on equipment that we no longer warranty, which means we shouldn't have accepted the PO. And that's what I told him. And he's like, oh, we'll figure it out, don't worry about it. From an ethical perspective, I couldn't work with that person anymore. He doesn't have the same values that I share. A year later, he got promoted somehow into being a director, and they hired somebody else, and we had the same situation where we received the same PO a year later for warranty. And he talked to me about it, and I told him we shouldn't accept it, and he's like, okay, we don't accept that. And he went back and told him, sorry, we cannot take your money, which is hard for people who get paid a lot of commission to do. So, value between you and your salesperson, if you're not on the same page, that could cause some friction. Another reason I see sometimes bad fits is when someone accepts a generalist sales engineering role, thinking it's more of a specialist sales engineering role. A generalist SE is more like a CrossFitter. There's someone who are the jack of all trades, master of none, or one or two. Like, I don't know if anyone here watches CrossFit, but there are people who do CrossFit that were Olympic lifters in the past, so they're great at Olympic lifting. They're okay at the rest of the stuff. Some of them are gymnasts, and they can do muscle ups fairly easy. And this is sales engineer. Being a generalist sales engineer means that you might be a master of one or two things, but there's a lot of things that you don't know. And a lot of engineers find that hard because you're not the person who knows everything, except the customer expects you to be the person who knows everything in a lot of cases. So it's hard from an emotional and intellectual perspective, and some people just go crazy trying to learn everything and they can't. And I've told this again previously, where we had one SE who started his demo by saying, this is the most complicated product that we have, knowing that he had rarely used that product. He was an expert in another area. So that's how he started the demo, and you can guess how it went. On the other hand, if you like to own the customer relationships and you like the bigger picture, you like to see how all these different products and solutions that your company offers solves problems together, then generalist sales engineering is a great position for you. Now, on the flip side, the third source of bad fit is being a specialist SE when you actually need to be a generalist SE. An example of a specialist SE, going back to the world of weightlifting and all that, is powerlifting, where they're focused on bench, squat, and deadlift. That's their job. That's what they do. And you can see they're in the heavyweights, they're like monstrosities who can actually lift a lot of weights, and they would suck at CrossFit, most likely. In this case, you're more of a sniper, where you focus on one product, one technology, and you come in, meet a customer, solve their problem, leave, go to the next customer, solve their problem. And you don't get to build those customer relationships as much, and you don't get to follow through on opportunities or deals or anything like that. So you're far removed. And if you like that, that's great. If you don't, if you'd rather be with the customer, then specialist might not be a good fit for you. The fourth possible cause of bad fit is working at a startup where you don't really should work at a startup. Startups are kind of difficult. There are different stages to it, and I've seen a lot of SEs being hired as the first SE at a startup. Some excel, but some don't have the experience to actually build the processes and all that, or don't have the support from their leadership team to do the things that they need to do. The CEO is so used to doing a demo one way, which is the wrong way, and then the SE comes in and tries to fix it and nothing happens. Or the salesperson is used to selling on their own and the SE comes in post-sales, but then they have to fix everything that salesperson did. And you're wearing way too many hats. You could be pre-sales, post-sales, implementation, software designer. You could be all of that as a startup SE, depending on where the startup is. Like if you're the third SE, or maybe you're the first SE, but they're a little bit more mature, they have a better idea of what they're doing, it could be a right role for you. On the other hand, you could be working for a large organization where you should be working at a startup. Large organizations are boring as hell. It's hard to steer a ship. If you see something wrong and you want to fix it, it may take years to get it fixed, or it may not be fixed at all. So, depending on the environment that you want to work in. If you prefer working at startups, if you have the capability of working at a fast-paced, long hours startup, that's one thing. And one of the main reasons I see bad fits is there is no support for the sales engineer. Like, they're just dropped in and they're expected to learn everything on their own. They might be given like, hey, go to this website, go to that website and learn everything. And there's not enough information. They're not taught the human skills, the technical skills, especially if they're a generalist. They don't know where to start. I've worked with one client who is a channel SE, and they're told that you're just supposed to enable the channel team, but her boss keeps asking her to practice her demos, which she's never going to do because she's never going to be in front of the customer, or they tell her that hey, you should work on the differentiators, but they never tell her what the differentiators are. She has to go out and look for them, talk to product management, which is doable, but for someone who's new, you'd think that should be available, but it's not always a good fit. Another reason why it's a bad fit is because the sales engineering skill set is not there. I was talking to someone yesterday where the quality of SE has changed from being more salesy, and as the company grew, they needed someone more technical. So what happens to those people who were salesy? Or there are no skills whatsoever. Like, I've worked with SEs who should not be SEs at all. For example, that person who came and said, oh, this is the most complicated product you're ever going to see. He's no longer an SE, and he's doing well in whatever company he's in. At least that's last time I checked. Not everybody's meant to be an SE. In the same way, I'm not meant to be an NBA basketball player. As much as I love to play basketball, I'm too short, too slow, and now a little bit too round, if I want to be politically correct. If you want to check out the video about SE skills, I just made a video last week about the 4 quadrants of sales engineering. Check it out in one of the corners here. And the last reason I see why sometimes it's a bad fit is just having wrong expectations. For example, if you hire a channel SE and their expectation is to work with channels and help the channels directly and never work with customers, that's the expectation. Don't make them do demos in front of customers. That's not why you hired them for. If you're going to do that, at least set the expectations early and give them the chance, the tools to be able to actually go out and do a proper demo. Train them, not just, leave them in the ether and try to let them figure it out. A lot of people can figure it out. Some people can't, and it's not their fault. Maybe they're just overwhelmed. There's a lot of different things that could happen. Another example is I expect you to hit the like button, and if you don't, I'm going to be very disappointed. And you don't want to disappoint me, or you might, I don't know. I don't know you personally. I hope I do someday. This is getting awkward. What can you do about all this? Sometimes it's a bad fit, but it can be fixed. I fixed my situation. And I would start by saying build a relationship with the manager. Another personal story of mine. When I first joined the company that I work for today, I joined as a hybrid sales engineer. And in this team, sales engineers and salespeople all report to the same sales director who hired me as a hybrid. Now, the director was very busy. He covered the entire country. So it was hard to get time with that person to actually have a chat and understand a little bit more about the expectations, which we needed to set. The only time I talked to them was when there was an issue somewhere, whether it's a post-sales issue, not necessarily related to my skill set or my actions or my activities, just things happen, customers not happy, and it got escalated to him because that's the person they're used to working with, and then I had to fix it. And as I mentioned, I was a hybrid. I didn't know what hybrid was. I didn't know what my role was. What am I supposed to be doing? If I'm doing a good job, if I'm doing a bad job. And there was no other hybrid I can talk to and understand. Things only got better when I started building that relationship with the manager, going the extra mile, inviting them to meetings or adding them to emails, which I think, if this is not resolved within one day for reasons that I cannot control, it's going to be escalated to him and he's going to start yelling and shouting at people, not necessarily me, but it'll make me feel like I didn't do everything I could do. So I just started adding them to emails. So now he's aware. So when the customers message him, he's not in the dark. He's aware of what's happening. And that helped me build a relationship with him. That helped me understand what he needs, and he understood what I need from him in terms of support. Like, hey, this is not working the way you said it's going to work. Help me out. And it built the relationship. And there are a million ways to build relationships that are not just the way I said it, but this is just one example. The second thing I would do is actually talk to the manager. The main reason to do that is to actually set the right expectations. Like, I'm a hybrid SE. What does that mean? What are you expecting of me? Because I wasn't doing what he was expecting of me because I thought I was expected to do other things. But once we started talking and I started understanding, like, this is what he needs from me for him to be successful, I started working on that and my situation got better. And don't wait for when you're on the job for like 6 months or a year to have that conversation. Start building relationships from day one because you never know when you might need them. And start setting those expectations every meeting you have with that manager. Talk to them early and often so you know where you stand and they know where you stand. Number 3 is write a job description. Sometimes you're hired as a sales engineer and the job descriptions should be clear, but it's not always clear. I mean, it's a generic job description that they put on LinkedIn or Indeed or wherever, and you apply to it, and then when you start the job, it's actually very different from what you actually applied to. And if you're finding yourself in a bad fit, write down a job description. Like, think about what you enjoy doing. Think about what your strengths are. What do you do best? And what the organization needs from you for them to be successful as well. And write that job description. Use that as your guiding star to what you want to do. And then you can modify it as you go along to make sure that what you're doing is helpful to the company and you're still keeping your sanity. The fourth thing I would do is identify why it's not a good fit to begin with. So use the job description that you just wrote. Use the chats that you had with your manager, with your colleagues, with your teammates, and try to understand why this is not working. There should be a reason. And I gave you a list of a few reasons why it's a bad fit earlier. You can look at it and there might be other reasons that I didn't think about. So check those out and figure out why it's a bad fit. And that way you can actually do this fifth step, which is work hard to get those fixed. It's easy to think that, oh, this is not a good fit, I'm just going to up and move. But this is one challenge in your life that you might face over and over. And if you just keep moving, at some point people are going to stop hiring you because you're a job hopper or whatever it is. So think of it as a challenge. This is a challenge that I need to improve my situation, my life. If I can succeed in fixing this situation, I'm going to succeed in fixing other situations as well. With customers who might be giving me a hard time, with other account managers who might be bullying me, or whatever situation you might find yourself in. This is just one experience, one tool set in your toolbox. That's it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're in a bad spot, I would love to hear from you, whether it's through the comments on YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever, or you can message me directly on LinkedIn. It's Ramzi Marjaba on LinkedIn, or follow We the Sales Engineers. Like I said earlier, like the video if you do like it. If you don't like it, let me know why. I'd love to fix it and make it better. I love constructive criticism. And make sure to share and subscribe. Share it with one person that you think this video would be useful to. Alright, I will see you next time. Peace!